Hello, Dr. Weiser, and this is my presentation. Mine is, and this is what I was on the topic of. Phonetics for the ability for children to read and write are completely different than what you and I talk and write on paper, whatever. The way they write and read is how they see it or say it. And what I mean by that is they may have different pronunciations, they may have different, you know, uh, spellings. But my title is this: Phonetics in English for Children in Special Education. And what this is, like I said, language, the linguistics for children are so much more complex than what you and I are. But for those that are within the inclusion classroom, it's even more complex. And what I wanted to focus on is the ability is on the learning abilities of writing and learning for children, and for us educators. For us, it can be difficult to accommodate for those children, and for those children that are with special needs in the traditional classroom. I want to inform students and yourself of how much of a vital and complex topic this is. Parents of both general education and special education uh, can be informative by this, and also, for us educators, those people also need a certain curriculum to learn language. And here I am to provide that information. What I want to aim for is the basic phonetics and the linguistics, phonology for children and for children in general. Then go further down into children with special needs. Then talk about different. There's a couple studies that I have not on here, but it will be in my paper of children with special needs like learning impairment and so on, and the traditional classroom. Then I wanted to get into the management part of the classroom for educators. So what I wanted to do, what I did in this paper, is conduct studies of how the learning informs us of how children of all aspects read and write, and support that with evidence, pretty much. Then concluding a statement of that abstract with information and evidence with a bold paragraph and a statement. But what I want to touch on here is a study that I found online. It was about a study of students who showed unique needs that presented contests to educators. And these children pursued to construct inclusive and general education to learn English as a second language. And what I found interesting was many general and special educators have not been trained enough to discourse the educational needs. And this is a map that a graph I found on Google. It's of Texas. I don't know what year exactly it is. But it's pretty much just saying that public schools are struggling to learn English. And the rate of the students needing help with this language is extending to crime. In Texas, it's nearly 1/5 of the states is struggling, and the rate of that is climbing. And similarly, what I'm trying to say is, not just in Texas, but also here in Ohio, and not just here in the U.S., but globally, internationally, the language is declining. They're actually, if I don't remember correctly, but I think like China and Korea and Japan actually learn English faster than we do. And that's a shocking, interesting fact. But in this in this study, there's two levels: the personal level and a professional level. The personal level is, just the general, especially bilingual special education teachers discussing the basics of the child that pertaining to special needs. What it'd be like to go to school and live in a country where you speak the language. What it'd be like to be into that inclusive classroom. What it'd be like to be in that traditional general classroom with other students that go into that traditional classroom, putting them and cooperating them. And the professional level is just all those educators coming up with appropriate resources and information that demonstrates success. And what I mean by that is, what's interesting is this study said that schools that do not encompass the principles of bilingual and multicultural education into their educational programs have determined effects on the self-esteem and institutional routine of students who attend them. I find that very interesting because you got to have that multicultural education and knowing you got to have greatest self-esteem for those students. You got to have that role of those students to engage, keep them engaged into the study, into the lecture, into the concept of what we're learning, and the opportunities to receive instruction is associated with what is their cultural background. And this means what I've thought of this is the cultural background, the lifestyle background. Pretty much, for you as a professional, you need to know your student. And what I mean by that is learn your student's background. Not 100%. Don't go into 100% personal details. But ask them, is there problems at home? Like things of that nature. And, maybe that child has a mother and father who are in and out of jail a lot. Maybe they have a mother and father who was never around them. Maybe they have a birth defect where they have Down syndrome from alcohol. I mean, there's so many things that you could learn from a child. And then once you learn from that child and force it into your lesson plans to make sure that they get the appropriate education for them. And so that's pretty much what my paper is about. It's about the studies of different ways of how phonetics and phonology can affect the child, but that child could affect how you teach it. And in my conclusion, you pretty much the differences in how each teacher teaches is very complex. I, from experience, have seen this. I am not a teacher by all means. I have worked in a daycare, which is about the same. I worked with school-age children before. And you learn something new every day. You learn about these kids. They come up to you and ask you for assistance. You come up. They just make you in awe because you want that child to be as successful as you want them to be, even though you're not part of any school affiliation. They come up to you for assistance. They come up to you for questions. And it's something new every day. This profession has something new every day. And you know, when I was in my observation, and this is another thing, as far as accommodating, learn what your student likes as far as reading. I had a student who, not a student, but I was observing at Liberty Middle School for the first experience educational program this semester, and I had this young boy. He had something. He had alcohol syndrome pretty much because his mom was an alcoholic, and you know, this kid did not understand like the reading concept. But man, was this kid smart. He knew math like I did. And so, you know, there's those kind of things that you got to look at and say, those are the things I can accommodate. Maybe not just reading what it says there. Take the concept and create it in a way that you feel he or she will understand. Because just like in math, you got to read in order to solve problems. So what I did, this was like I don't remember what kind of problem it was. It was a word problem. I said, okay, buddy. Say you had this and this, and you wanted to take it away. I did a visual impairment pretty much for him, and he got it right away. So that's just what I mean. It goes from the bottom from the child up to the educator. The child affects the parent. The parent affects the child. In a sense, the educator can make that difference. The educator can be there to make a whole world of difference for not only the child but the parent as well. Make the child be as successful as he or she can be, while having the appropriate accommodations and techniques to be what I pulled out fair, because that's a big question mark as well. I hate when everybody says, "But everything's not equal." Okay, equal means you get the same exact amount of quantity and quality of education. Whereas fair, it makes the accommodations. You get the same exact concept, just making it make it more easier and grasp the attention more for that child than it would have before. So that is my poster. That is my presentation. I apologize for being late. There is my poster. And I hope you all have a great day. I hope you all can learn from this experience. I will definitely have a learning experience with this as my future profession as a mathematics teacher, and I'll actually area of concentration of math and English. I wish myself some luck. I wish you luck as well. Go Bucks.